If you're new to the channel, I'm Liam, the Unprofessional, and I'm going to show you how to make a alcohol burning hobo stove out of an empty drinks can. One of which will need 1 can, the other one will need 2 cans. This is what they're going to end up looking like because, again, I've already made these today. So this is the 2 can alcohol burning stove, and this is a 1 can alcohol burning stove. We're going to start with the 1 can. The only tools you're going to need for this are you're going to need a pair of scissors and you're going to need a decent knife. That's it. You could probably make it with just a knife, but it is a lot easier with a pair of scissors to hand. I want to start making these types of videos alongside the wild camping videos. I don't want to say hiking videos because I don't really consider myself a hiker. I prefer bushcraft and wild camping. Start with the 1 can stove. The first thing that you want to do with this is you want to take out this top part. So you want to take out all of this whilst the can still has structure. That's important. So you want to start by making your first incision here because that's the weakest point. And it will be a faff to cut that bit out afterwards if you've already carved the rest up. So what you're going to do is you're going to go on the little seam and then apply just enough pressure to make a hole. There you go. You'll feel it like push in. Now you're going to carve round. Again, take your time. Don't rush this because you are fucking around with a knife. Just continue to carve around the sides like so. Remove that bit, put it to one side. Now what you'll have is your empty can looking like this. Next step is we need to cut the can in half. We're gonna cut this can lower down for the top part, so I reckon about here. Make a small incision with your knife like so. There we go. Once that's made, we can go ahead and put the knife to one side for now. So now, lining up the incision you've just made in the center with the bottom of the can so that you can get it to line round, because you want this to try and be as straight as possible. And you just want to cut around the can like so. What you'll now end up with is the top of your can looking like this. So we're going to put this bit to one side for now because we're going to need that in a minute. Now we want to shorten this down just a little bit by maybe ½ inch. So you want to make a little incision down like this. The trick is that the top part of the can is going to slide into the bottom half, but you want there to be enough gap for the top to sit out easily. Cut round the bottom, keeping it in line with that bottom lip so that we can get this as straight as possible. Once you've taken off this strip, go ahead and put that to one side with the rest of your rubbish. Now you may notice that you've got some jagged edges on the side. Whilst this isn't a big problem, I would say trim them off if you're going to be carrying this in a pack, purely because you don't want it to snag and tear other fabrics or bits of your kit. That's not ideal. You don't want that. Got this bit like this. You can see that this would sit out of the top quite nicely. You want to get the top of the can again, and the trick here is along this lip here we're going to make some small indentations that don't go right the way to the top. That's Bronson behind me. Hello, mate. The trick is that you don't want the bend to go right the way up to the lip. You want it to sort of run down to the end here. Applying a little bit of pressure with your scissors like so. Just a little bend. And then you want to work that down to the bottom of the can. I'll repeat this process every, again, about ½ inch, ½ of an inch around the can. Just keep repeating this process all the way around. The reason I make these for going on wild camps or when I'm out in the woods is, one, you can find a can pretty much anywhere to make one of these. Two, it means I don't have to carry an alcohol burner, which means I can lighten my pack. The reasons I choose to make an alcohol burning stove is because wood gives off a certain smell. Unless you've been given permission by the landowners, I would advise against making an open fire. And an alcohol burning stove is a lot more discreet. Alcohol burning stoves don't really give off that wood burning smell, and the smell that they do give off, depending on what you're burning, most people aren't really used to that smell, so they don't really pick up on it. What you should end up with is this sort of almost flower-ish pattern around your can. This is to ensure that it will slide into the bottom and still have airflow up the sides to be able to create a decent flame. Is along this white strip on this can at the top, we're going to make one little hole, just a small incision, to ensure that the flow goes in and out if you were to have something sat on top of the can. Don't make this hole too big, because if you do, you'll burn the fuel too quickly, but also don't make it too small, because otherwise it's going to struggle to circulate. So on that little white bit, just make a very small incision, and you can see that there. Now you're going to squeeze the top into the bottom. This might take a little bit of, like, you know, fuss to get to go, but once it's in, it's in. Good, there we go. Now push that together, and what you have here is a single can alcohol burning stove. I would always suggest to fill it to no higher than about there, purely because, one, you're going to waste fuel. You can cook most things in the time it will take for that to burn. Once you've lit this, the only way you can really put it out is if you were to starve it of oxygen. So for example, if this was flat to the ground, and let's say I had a cooking pot and I wanted to put this out, put the cooking pot over it upside down, wait for the fire to go out, take it off. The leftover fuel can be reused, but it might take a few more tries to get it to light. And like I said, holding a flame to this, once it's got fuel in it, it might not light straight away, depending on, you know, the wind and things like that. But once it's lit, it will stay lit. And like I said, you can make this out of one can. This will last as well. This is not like a single use thing. I tend to make these quite regularly while I'm out, just because I like to hone the craft of doing it, because, you know, the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. Now, single can works just fine. This one's pretty sturdy. Sometimes they can be a little bit shaky. They can wobble a little bit. Even as I put pressure on that, you can see it move somewhat. If you're in a place with heavy wind and you're going to make something like this, bury it to about this deep in the ground, just so it's like sturdy in its position and it's not going to tip or move, because again, once it's lit, you have a flammable liquid. Once that spills, if it's still lit, you're causing yourself problems. So try to avoid that. I'll show you how to make the 2-can stove, which will look more like this one, which is actually my preferred stove. But again, both of these work just fine, and they're durable and will last. Looks like it's gonna rain, so I want to try and smash through this quick. I'm gonna make a 2-can stove. I tend to make one of these before I go out as opposed to while I'm out. With this one, you're not going to need the tops at all. So you're going to cut the bottom out of one of these cans, much like we did with the other one. You're going to cut this bit out of the top, but you don't want it to go up to the lip. You want to keep this on. Just apply a little bit of pressure until your knife goes in. You then want to start to carve around the bottom of the can. Go slow with this. There's no point, there's no rush. They're never going to be perfect, you know what I mean? You get better at making them over time. That's just how it is. Trying to make them look aesthetically pleasing, it's not really important. You just keep carving around the bottom until you've got it all out. It should look like this. Now, the excess on the bottom, you can fold in with your scissors. This is again just to ensure that you're not snagging anything inside your pack. The reason I've started making videos like this is because I've had these skills for years. Sort of realized that not everybody has these skills, and with the current state of the world, I do believe these are skills that everybody should have. And being able to make fire that you can cook on in any which way, shape or form, it's a key skill to have. As you can see, I've bent most of the sharp edges on the inside in. We're going to make an incision in this, but we want this one to be a little bit longer. So I would say, yeah, round about there. So it's not quite halfway, just a little bit under, just like that. And then trying to keep it as straight as possible. You want to keep it in line with the bottom of the can and just cut round. You should end up with is this. Again, if you've got any bits sticking out on the side, this one's pretty good that it doesn't. Trim those off or fold them in. Grab your other can, and what we're going to do is we're going to make an incision on this one so that this can sit nicely in it. Small amount of pressure till you get the knife to go in. Get your scissors and run it around the edge. So now that we've cut that bit off, again, this bit is useless to us for the time being, but I will show you something that you can do with that. The reason I say collect all this stuff is because when you're out wild camping or in the woods or whatever else, and you're doing stuff like this, you're sharing wild space with wildlife. It's their home, not yours. And I don't think it would be fair. Leave no trace. Always take your rubbish with you. It's important. Much like with the first can we did, I want you to make a small indent, might be a little bit harder on the bottom of a can, on just one side of this can, and then run that down the edge of the can. What we're going to do is we're going to make holes around this. You don't want them too big, you don't want them too small, but you do want to make them the entirety of the way round. So just enough pressure to get that knife to go through. And then you want to make these every ½ an inch all the way around. And there you go. As you can see, we now have holes pinned right the way through. Now the idea is that when you've got something laying flat on the top of this, the fire will escape through those holes. Push that you've made down the side will act again as oxygen to flow. Now, this one's a little bit harder to squeeze in, but because of that fold you've made, it shouldn't be impossible. Once you've got it done, you squeeze it together like so. Take your scissors and push that now folded piece down just a little bit, like so. So as you can see, that folds in there. Now, this one is a lot more sturdy than the one can stove. I can apply a lot of pressure to that and that's not going anywhere. You're filling this up with your liquid or fuel only to about there, no higher, because you really won't need much more than that. And sometimes, depending on the amount of fuel, 30 minutes, sometimes an hour. And these are reusable. Naturally, if it's a windy day, you'll need some type of wind guard, which you can build yourself to go around it. Another thing you can do, I would show you, but I've unfortunately used all the cans I have today. You can cut the full length of a side of a can out and then cut the center up and use it as a wind protector, like so. These are, so there's the one can stoves, and there's the 2 can stoves. These ones way sturdier than those, which get a little bit of a wobble. Very easy to make, very useful. Now let's move on to fuels. Obviously for alcohol burning stoves, I believe the correct fluid used is methylated spirits, I think, which aren't that easy to purchase. But what I use for these is nail polish remover. Nail polish remover you can buy pretty much anywhere, any shop, chemist, petrol station, whatever. They usually sell it. Doesn't matter the ingredients or the chemicals in it. You can buy one with acetone in it or without. They both burn exactly the same. There's no real issue there. Don't use the entirety of your fuel before you have to put your stove out by starving it of oxygen. You can put it back into the bottle, but please make sure that it is out before you try to move it or put it back into the bottle, because you're going to create yourself a heap of problems if it's not. And that's basically it. The one thing I do want to add is that everything I've just cut off these cans is in this box. And apart from the stoves themselves, everything else is going to go into the recycling bin. Because even if you're not making one of these at home to take out with you, and you're making it whilst you're already out in the woods, or, you know, on a trail or wherever, the important thing is to leave no trace. Make sure you take all of the rubbish, the remnants of it, put in a small tin or a bag, carry it with you until you find your nearest bin, and then get rid of it. Be responsible with this information. There's only really certain reasons you would need to use this. To light it, all you need is a lighter, and just put your flame like that and it will light. I will be doing some more videos on this type of thing. The next one I have in mind is I'm going to teach people how to make a wood burning stove. I've got some other videos lined up of me going on some more trips out. There's a really big one coming up in May. I'm not going to tell you what it is until I start doing it, and yeah, that one's going to be a bit crazy. But I hope this has been useful. Thanks for tuning in. Don't really know what else to say. Obviously I'm Liam the Unprofessional. You're already on my page, so if you want to give it like a follow, whatever else, it would help me out a lot. Because like I said, I want to start making more of this, and I will be putting out more videos to teach people things that I think everybody should know. Thanks for stopping by.